South Africans think they've already known Vusimuzi Kat MATLALA under a familiar label, without realizing he is a professional con man with an onion-layered lifestyle who began building a false identity in the 1990s to control both legal and illegal deals without detection. He has succeeded with these for more than 20 years. Most of his companies allegedly operated 50% legal by day and 50% illegal by night, like Cat VIP Security, which allegedly carried out hit jobs after dark. Few people knew any of this until Babita Deokaran, a whistleblower at Tembisa Hospital, exposed his links to Medicare 24, later amplified by Ntlantla Mkhwanazi in July 2025, before investigators began pulling more threads. Would you believe that Vusimuzi Kat MATLALA has no verifiable birth certificate or educational records? Our investigation found that the documents he used under the name Vusimuzi MATLALA were fabricated. We also found no family members reliably linked to his surname. These were among the reasons he attempted to assassinate his ex-girlfriend, Tebogo Thobejane, after he realized she knew more than she should have. The deeper investigators went, the less he looked like a single person, and the more he looked like a stack of identities, each one protecting the next. Not a man with a past, but a file with layers, networks, favors, and dockets that don't quite reach judgment. One layer doesn't even sit in Pretoria or Johannesburg. It sits in Mbabane, Eswatini, a national ID card issued in February 2024, carrying MATLALA's photograph and date of birth, but a different surname, Vusimuzi Dlamini. The listed mother later denied knowing him, and community elders said they'd never seen him. Then, on 27 October 2025, a South Gauteng High Court bail judgment in the Tebogo Thobejane attempted murder case upheld the refusal of bail and recorded that the Eswatini ID was irregularly issued and fraudulent, allegedly used to cross into Eswatini on foot with no official record of return. Police never found the original card, but the paper trail kept talking, and that's before you even reach the other layers. A crime intelligence report described under oath by Brown Magotsi at the Madlanga Commission in November 2025. According to Magotsi, the report contained a 6-page section on the Boko Haram gang in Mamelodi and identified the mysterious vigilante figure dubbed John Wick as none other than Vusimuzi Kat MATLALA. The file, he said, included a photograph, an ID number, a criminal history, pending cases, and withdrawn matters under MATLALA's name, and it was brought to the attention of then Police Minister Bheki Cele as early as 2018. Another layer sits in the Tembisa Hospital procurement files flagged during Babita Deokaran's work and in SAPS tender paperwork that raised questions powerful people still deny. So the question isn't, who is Kat MATLALA? The question is, how does a person learn to build so many versions of himself, on paper, in politics, in police files, that accountability can't catch the real one? Vusimuzi Kat MATLALA is like an onion. The more you peel, the fresher it gets. In this video, we peel back the layers to reveal the untold story you've never heard. Mamelodi East, early 2000s, night. A bare light bulb swings from a corrugated iron roof in the back room of a Mamelodi spaza shop. A trembling shopkeeper stands before an unofficial street court. Two gang enforcers and a few onlookers form a semicircle. He's behind on his protection payments. The lead enforcer delivers the verdict in plain, hard terms. Pay, or you pay in another way. In the corner, a younger man, Vusi Kat MATLALA, watches intently, learning the township's cardinal rule. The shopkeeper pleads for leniency, but the fear in his eyes is answer enough. Moments later, a harsh smack echoes. The debt will be settled with interest by week's end. In Mamelodi's underworld, there's no escaping a debt. The code is simple. If you don't pay in cash, you pay in pain, or worse. During these years, Mamelodi was in the grip of extortion gangs that operated with near impunity. A group known as Boko Haram had begun terrorizing local businesses, collecting monthly fees of a few hundred rand from shop owners, even issuing crude receipts to show who was under their protection. Foreign-owned tuck shops, taxi operators, even shack dwellers paying for water, all were targets of syndicates that acted as judge, jury, and debt collector in the streets. People feared the gangs more than the police. Disputes were settled in makeshift tribunals or at gunpoint, not in courtrooms. In this climate, a teenager like MATLALA absorbed the lesson that loyalty could be bought with fear, and that seeking help from the law was not an option. This was the first architecture of danger in MATLALA's life. CAT was forged in an environment where fear was currency and violence a form of communication. The concept of pay or pay, that one way or another, every debt gets extracted, taught him that power comes from enforcing obligations when institutions won't. It's the foundation upon which he would build all other leverage, a reputation that no one could cross without consequence. Tshwane, Pretoria, 2010, dawn at a taxi rank. A convoy of minibus taxis idles in semi-darkness. Men unload duffel bags stuffed with cash into one taxi, glancing around furtively. This isn't the day's fares, it's the spoils of an early morning cash-in-transit robbery outside the city. Among the crew is MATLALA, no longer a wide-eyed kid, but an emerging operator. The scene is brisk and businesslike. The stolen money will be laundered through a local tavern and an informally run taxi business. As the first commuters arrive, the taxis rev to life, hiding in plain sight. For MATLALA, this blending of worlds, hijacked money transported in everyday taxis, is the new game. He's leveling up from street thug to architect of schemes, learning to mask criminal operations with ordinary commerce. By the late 2000s, Vusi Cat MATLALA's name had graduated from street gossip to police intelligence briefs. He had been arrested multiple times for housebreaking, car theft, possession of stolen goods, starting around 2000, but case after case was mysteriously withdrawn. This taught him early how to exploit the system's cracks. As he stepped into larger crimes like armed robberies and hijackings, he did so strategically, often with help from insiders. Police later noted that MATLALA wasn't just chasing cash. He and others in his circle were seizing territory and influence. They took over taxi routes, extorted informal markets, and turned those local strongholds into platforms for bigger ventures. Crime experts drew connections between township gangs and broader syndicates. One widely reported case linked Mamelodi hitmen to an international criminal like Radovan Krejcis. In this milieu, MATLALA learned from older kingpins like Jotham Mswazi Msibi, a notorious Pretoria taxi boss whose empire allegedly spanned taxis, cash heists, and political patronage. Msibi's creed was to mix violence with business, using taxi companies, security firms, even farms as fronts for illicit trade. Investigators would later testify that MATLALA became a node in the firm, a cartel where hijackers, drug dealers, businessmen, and corrupt officials colluded, and where case dockets could vanish if you paid the right officer. MATLALA's evolution in this chapter is one of hybrid power. He's moving beyond being the guy with a gun to being the guy with a plan, and crucially, the guy with connections. The Mamelodi Code of fear and informal justice gave him street credibility, but now he was adding a new kind of leverage, system knowledge, and alliances. He learned to operate in the shadows and in the boardrooms of the underworld, understanding that true danger lies in being untouchable, not just feared on the street but insulated by a network of allies, from gangsters to police, who could protect him. The first CAT was built on fear and debt. The next would be built on friends and fronts. If that last line hit, like the video and subscribe, because what comes next is where the fronts get names and the receipts start talking. Real question: when dockets vanish, who's protecting him? The gangsters or the police? Comment your thoughts. Johannesburg, 2018, midday traffic. Sirens wail as a convoy of sleek SUVs cuts through congestion on the M1 highway. Blue lights flash from behind their grills and traffic parts reflexively. Only government VIPs travel like this. Commuters catch a glimpse of the procession. Armed men in dark uniforms, a luxury sedan in the middle, windows tinted. Inside that car sits MATLALA, calmly scrolling his phone. To onlookers, he resembles a cabinet minister or a high-ranking general with a full police escort. In reality, the escort is MATLALA's own private security detail, illegally outfitted with police blue lights and insignia. The men protecting him aren't on the state payroll. They are employees of CAT VIP Protection, his personal security company. But today, on this highway, perception is everything. MATLALA's convoy breezes through roadblocks and red lights unchecked. He appears untouchable, cloaked in the borrowed authority of law enforcement. MATLALA's venture into the private security world gave him a powerful form of cover building. He registered his security firm and ensured its guards were properly licensed with the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority, PSIRA. meaning they could carry firearms and wear official-looking gear. By the late 2000s, reports indicate that Cat had even recruited former soldiers and police officers into his protection team. His bodyguards included ex-military personnel, handpicked for their training and loyalty, lending an air of professionalism to his outfit. With uniforms, bulletproof vests, and legally issued guns, his security personnel looked indistinguishable from state VIP protectors. MATLALA deftly blurred the lines between private and public security. In one startling incident uncovered later, a senior Ekurhuleni Metro Police official, Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, was found to have secretly signed agreements granting MATLALA's company's quasi-police privileges. Testimony at the Madlanga Commission revealed that Mkhwanazi illegally offered Cat VIP protection the use of blue lights and sirens reserved only for SAPS, and even proposed that Metro Police report certain crimes to MATLALA's firm first, rather than to SAPS. In effect, had this scheme fully materialized, Cat's private squad would operate as an arm of the Metro Police, with authority to join operations and receive crime intel before official units. It was covered in the truest sense. MATLALA's security business was being woven into the fabric of law enforcement. When these dealings came to light, Mkhwanazi was suspended and grilled for turning a blind eye in a blue light to a gangster. Beyond the institutional deals, MATLALA understood the theatrics of looking untouchable. Footage later emerged on social media, filmed by his wife, showing their convoy with flashing lights escorting them to lavish events as if they were dignitaries. Every public appearance with a police-style motorcade sent a message to friends and foes alike. This man is protected, connected, and fearless. In this chapter of MATLALA's rise, image became armor. By donning the symbols of state power, the blue lights, the official convoys, the licensed firearms, he manufactured legitimacy and intimidation without firing a shot. This blue light confidence was a hustle of optics and paperwork. The right permits, the right allies in uniform, and suddenly a criminal suspect moves through the world as if he's above the law. It was not just vanity, it was a calculated strategy to make others hesitate to challenge him. Would an honest cop pull over a speeding SUV if it looked like it carried a minister? Would a potential witness speak up if the man they fear arrives flanked by police lookalikes? MATLALA bet the answer was no. By building cover and borrowing authority, he added a new layer to his danger architecture: protection by perception. In the underworld, guns and muscle can scare you, but believing the entire system shields a man can outright paralyze you. And that is exactly the effect Cat was going for. Vusimuzi, Cat. MATLALA discovered that the corridors of government could be as lucrative as any backstreet racket. In South Africa's world of public contracts, he developed a playbook that turned paperwork into power. By cultivating insiders and exploiting procurement loopholes, MATLALA allegedly transformed routine tenders into a personal empire of influence, forging a trail of documents that, by design, kept prying eyes at bay. One early lesson came in Gauteng's health department, where MATLALA was part of a syndicate feasting on hospital contracts. Their method was brazen but effective: rigged the request for quotation, RFQ, system. Using dozens of front companies registered to friends and family, they submitted multiple bids on the same job, giving the illusion of competition while ensuring one of their secretly controlled entities always won. With that control, they could also inflate prices astronomically. In one case, a basic hospital order that should have cost about 25,000 Rand was billed at over 1.2 million Rand, a markup of more than 4,500%. On paper, everything looked proper. In practice, public funds flowed straight into MATLALA's circle. The profits from these schemes bought more than sports cars and champagne. MATLALA and his allies flaunted their wealth with high-end vehicles, VIP parties, even private flights, a display of untouchable success that made any honest official think twice about asking questions. And when whistleblower Babita Deokaran scrutinized Tembisa Hospital's books in 2021, she discovered a fortune hemorrhaging to obscure companies linked to figures like MATLALA. Deokaran moved to freeze nearly 70 million Rand in suspicious payments. Weeks later, she was assassinated in front of her home, a stark warning of how far the architects of these schemes would go to guard their pipeline of riches. MATLALA was never charged in her murder and denies any role, but his name surfaced in the whispers around the case. The message to anyone who might interfere was clear. Challenge the tender empire at your peril. Buoyed by easy wins and few consequences, MATLALA set his sights even higher, onto the South African Police Service itself. In 2024, a modest company he controlled landed a 360 million Rand SAPS contract to provide medical services to police officers nationwide. It was a staggering coup, a little-known firm outbidding established competitors for one of the year's biggest tenders. The secret to this success lay in what MATLALA did before the bid even opened. He quietly leased a police clinic in Pretoria months in advance, as if he knew that having a medical facility on SAPS property would soon be a requirement. Sure enough, when the tender was advertised, the specifications called for exactly such a clinic, and MATLALA was already the tenant. It seemed he had advanced knowledge of the tender's design long before it became public. Other signs of foul play soon emerged. A police brigadier who helped draw up the contract specs resigned just before the award, then immediately turned up working for MATLALA's company. Another officer on the bid committee later received suspicious payments traced back to MATLALA's team. These blatant conflicts of interest should have voided the deal, but instead, the contract went ahead and money started flowing. Only after a belated audit and mounting public scrutiny did police leadership cancel the arrangement. By then, over 50 million Rand in taxpayer money had been paid out to MATLALA's firm. At every step, MATLALA wielded official processes as both shield and sword. The leases, contracts, and invoices created an aura of legality around him, discouraging casual scrutiny. That same paperwork also bound others to him. Every official who signed off, every colleague who enjoyed a slice of the spoils, a paid business trip here, a post-retirement job there, became quietly complicit. To expose him would mean implicating themselves. In this way, the tender playbook did more than enrich MATLALA. It entangled those around him in a conspiracy of silence. By the time the ink dried on each deal, a chain of people had a stake in keeping it out of the spotlight. It became a self-sustaining web of profit and protection. MATLALA's shrewd use of rigged RFQs and pre-arranged leases poured millions into his war chest, money he could then deploy to reward loyalty or buy cooperation. Each big contract wasn't just about cash, it was another foothold in the halls of power, another ally indebted by favor or fear. In his hands, tenders and paperwork turned into quiet weapons, converting public money into private leverage. This is how MATLALA built an aura of invincibility, through deals on paper that fortified a very real wall of silence around his activities. From the day he earned his nickname, Cat seemed to have a charmed 9 lives in the justice system. Arrested repeatedly as a young man for armed robbery, carjacking, possession of stolen goods, he would be hauled into police stations and courthouses, only to slip away with charges withdrawn time after time. Those early close calls taught MATLALA a crucial lesson. A criminal case is only as serious as the will to pursue it. If you know how to make dockets disappear, getting arrested becomes just a temporary inconvenience. Over the years, MATLALA's rap sheet grew thick on paper, but many files went nowhere. It became routine. Witnesses suddenly recanted, evidence mysteriously vanished, dockets languished until deadlines passed, as if an invisible hand guided his cases to dead ends. In truth, a network was at work. MATLALA had learned to cultivate friends in uniform at every level, allegedly greasing palms with cash or favors. By the 2000s, he wasn't just a lucky criminal slipping through cracks. He had a protection machine working for him inside law enforcement. Some of this protection came from underworld alliances he forged. MATLALA joined a criminal fraternity that already had police generals on its payroll. By paying into that system, he ensured raids were tipped off and investigations quietly derailed. When the syndicate's kingpin died, a senior police general allegedly told MATLALA that now he must take care of him, meaning the bribe payments had to continue. MATLALA obliged. According to later testimony, he paid these hefty sums in cash each month to keep his immunity alive. He also sought political cover. Through his fixer, Brown Mogotsi, MATLALA allegedly funneled money into the campaigns and pockets of high-ranking politicians, including, it's claimed, a police minister. In late 2024, just as a special police task team was closing in on MATLALA, that unit was abruptly disbanded by the police ministry. Later, leaked texts from Mogotsi to MATLALA bragged that, after a meeting with the minister, the team investigating him was dissolved. The minister denied any collusion, but the result was clear. The investigators were pulled off MATLALA's trail, and Kat walked free yet again. By 2025, the scope of MATLALA's influence over justice was becoming clear. Lieutenant General Ntlantla Mkhwanazi, a provincial police commissioner fed up with the cover-ups, publicly claimed that over 120 case dockets had been quietly buried to protect criminal interests tied to MATLALA. He described two parallel tracks in policing, one for ordinary people, and a hidden track where powerful figures could get cases against them, buried with a few phone calls. MATLALA, it seemed, had been riding that hidden road for years. The protection he enjoyed was both subtle and blatant. On the subtle side, case files against him would get lost, or key investigators would be removed, stalling any progress. On the blatant side, he mingled openly with law enforcement brass and acted untouchable. MATLALA was even seen handing a brand new Mercedes-Benz to a Metro police chief, a brazen gift that drew no rebuke. His private convoy drove with flashing blue lights reserved for official VIPs, a perk that signaled police blessing. And when dozens of illegal firearms linked to his security firm were seized at an associate's mansion, they were quietly returned with no charges laid, a pass no ordinary citizen would ever get. Incidents like these only cemented the lore that MATLALA had friends in all the right places. On the streets, people whispered that crossing Kat MATLALA was a dangerous game. Many believed reporting him was futile or a death wish, since his allies could make any case vanish. Seeing him slip through the cracks again and again, some victims simply kept quiet or fled, while others took matters into their own hands. Each time a prosecution against MATLALA collapsed, his aura of invincibility grew, and the cycle of fear deepened. Every escape emboldened him and discouraged anyone who might stand against him. Only the combined efforts of brave whistleblowers, honest cops, and investigative journalists managed to crack his shield. Piece by piece, evidence of secret meetings, payoffs, and interference came to light. By mid-2025, Vusi Kat MATLALA was finally behind bars, awaiting trial for a high-profile attempted murder. No longer sure that a phone call could save him. That it took so long is a testament to how well he insulated himself. In the end, MATLALA's menace was not just about his own violent deeds. It was about all the hands that held up his safety net. His impunity was woven from police files that vanished, dockets that never reached court, and favors from friends in high places. Now, with those threads of protection starting to unravel, the full story of Kat MATLALA's rise and the beginning of his downfall is finally coming to light. If you're seeing how fear becomes protection, like this video and subscribe, because the real story isn't just MATLALA, it's the safety net around him. Be honest. Who's more guilty? The man who terrorized people or the officials who kept him untouchable? Say your thoughts in the comment. In Vusimuzi Kat MATLALA's world, intimidation was not just a byproduct of crime. It functioned as a service in its own right. Violence and threats were wielded with cold calculation, evolving into tools of business. Every warning shot and veiled threat served a purpose: to secure silence, obedience, or a lucrative advantage. This chapter explores how fear itself became a commodity under MATLALA's reign, traded almost as strategically as cash. The witness that never spoke. Investigators allege that MATLALA's sphere of influence thrived on keeping witnesses quiet. Within Gauteng's underworld, whispers held that cases against him often evaporated before reaching court. Over 100 criminal dockets linked to his name reportedly stalled or vanished. It was not magic, but menace. A well-placed warning or show of force could persuade a witness to withdraw or an investigator to back away. Figures in his orbit traveled with conspicuous armed escorts, not merely for show but as an unmistakable signal. Those guards at his side, the convoy of vehicles, the aura of untouchability, all sent the same message. Think twice before testifying. Intimidation became part of the business model, keeping the enterprise steps ahead of the law through fear-induced silence, boasts, and blood chills. A disturbing glimpse into MATLALA's mindset comes from the testimony of an ex-girlfriend. In an affidavit, she described MATLALA casually boasting about violent solutions to his problems. He even hinted that a lawyer who reported him to authorities met an untimely end, not by chance. None of these claims is proven in court, but they paint a portrait of a man treating lives as disposable assets. Such talk was more than bravado. It was calculated intimidation. By sharing these chilling anecdotes, he delivered a message. Betrayal or interference could invite lethal reprisal. Those around him also whispered that a close friend who crossed Cat had been killed over a dispute, a cautionary tale suggesting even personal ties offered no safety. In MATLALA's company, fear mixed into casual conversation, a quiet warning cloaked in an anecdote. Hits for hire. Fear also became a transactional commodity in MATLALA's operations, often outsourced to hired hands. In one high-profile case, actress Tebogo Thobejane survived an ambush in October 2023 after her car was sprayed with bullets. Prosecutors allege it was a hit, MATLALA, orchestrated after their relationship soured, a contract killing arranged with business-like precision. His own wife allegedly helped track the target, and messages later retrieved from MATLALA's phone show instructions to make the murder especially brutal. Money moved from his company accounts to the gunman, treating murder like a paid service. Thobejane narrowly lived to tell the tale, becoming a rare survivor willing to speak out. Her account offered a glimpse into a machinery of fear that usually stayed hidden. The failed plot revealed how readily MATLALA turned to professional killers by proxy, a demonstration of how silence was typically bought with bullets. Clearing the marketplace, violence under MATLALA's shadow also seemed calculated to serve business interests. Around 2018, a vigilante nicknamed John Wick began assassinating members of an extortion gang called Boko Haram in Mamelodi. Investigators would later allege that this killer was actually MATLALA, eliminating a rival to his own syndicate. Whether or not he truly wore the vigilante mantle, the effect was the same. The gang's reign of terror ended, and their lucrative protection rackets were suddenly up for grabs. Associates linked to MATLALA reportedly moved in to seize those profits. In essence, violence cleared space that his network then occupied, turning bloodshed into a strategic reset of the market. This was intimidation as choreography. Remove a rival, take over their territory, and monetize the fear left behind. By all appearances, MATLALA's network mastered this ruthless formula to expand its domain. Across these episodes, a pattern emerges. Intimidation was systematized. Hits were arranged as coolly as business deals, threats delegated to specialists, and fear meticulously engineered to ripple outward. By making people dread the consequences of defiance, MATLALA allegedly obtained something invaluable: silence. It was the silence of witnesses too afraid to speak, of partners too wary to betray, of communities cowed into compliance. Danger was constructed deliberately, layer by layer, through privileged access to violence and the carefully cultivated leverage of fear. In the end, intimidation became a business, and silence its most valuable product. Locking Vusimuzi Cat MATLALA behind bars did not automatically lock down his influence. Even in custody, his alleged criminal network showed signs of life, operating through covert communication and loyal agents on the outside. This chapter examines how, despite concrete walls and cell doors, a well-connected syndicate can continue to exert pressure, using smuggled phones, trusted proxies, and intimidation that seeps from prison cells back onto the streets. A signal behind bars. A stark revelation of MATLALA's enduring reach came during a routine prison raid. Officers searching his cell at Pretoria's Kagosi Mampuru prison in mid-2025 discovered a mobile phone hidden among his belongings. The finding was startling. Inmates awaiting trial for violent conspiracies are to have no contact with the outside world. Yet here was evidence that MATLALA might have been one phone call away from his network. How long had he been issuing instructions from behind bars? Who helped smuggle in the device, or chose to look the other way? The discovery prompted officials to reclassify him as an ultra-high-risk inmate. He was promptly transferred to the CMAX high-security section and placed under stricter watch. But the damage was done. If a suspected kingpin could clandestinely obtain a phone in custody, it meant his influence, whether through bribery or intimidation, had breached the prison's defenses. Investigators now feared that he could use such access to warn Confederates, tamper with evidence, or even arrange violence from within his cell. In MATLALA's case, incarceration was not the end of the story. It was simply a new stage on which his power could play out. The proxy web. MATLALA's power sprawled across a network of allies capable of acting in his stead. Chief among these was Brown Mogotsi, a politically connected fixer often described as his right-hand man on the outside. Evidence suggests Mogotsi helped broker meetings with high-ranking officials on MATLALA's behalf. In one instance, Text messages indicate he arranged a sit-down with a cabinet minister, just as an elite police unit was probing MATLALA's activities. Soon after, that police task team was abruptly disbanded, a move investigators suspect was no coincidence, but rather the result of influence quietly exerted in the corridors of power. This is how MATLALA's proxy web operated. When he needed obstacles removed or favors done, someone in his circle picked up the phone for him. Even the family played roles. MATLALA's wife, Sakani, CEO of one of his security firms, was arrested as a co-conspirator in the Tobijeng case, but quickly released on bail. Prosecutors allege that her loyalty remained with her husband's cause, effectively keeping the chain of command intact despite his detention. Through confidants like Mogotsi and Sakani, MATLALA's directives could still find their way to boardrooms, street corners, and government offices, sustaining his empire's momentum beyond the prison walls. Street pressure in absentia, with communication lines open and lieutenants at liberty, those who dared challenge the syndicate felt little relief from MATLALA's arrest. Law enforcement officials privately worried that witnesses and whistleblowers remained within reach of his wrath. If someone intended to testify against Kat, a late-night threatening phone call or an ominous visit on a quiet street could swiftly change their mind. Indeed, authorities noted that over 120 case dockets tied to MATLALA's operations had been compromised, files vanished or charges dropped, signs of systematic pressure. Even behind bars, MATLALA could still set such events in motion with a covert message or a relayed call. In effect, jailing him merely shifted the intimidation onto his broader network, but the tactics, fear and bribery remained the same. By leveraging loyal foot soldiers and well-placed bribes, his influence could seep out of confinement, turning street pressure into an extension of his will from afar. MATLALA's case lays bare an unsettling reality. When a criminal empire is built on access and leverage, arresting its figurehead is only half the battle. Courts recognized as much when a judge denied him bail, citing the high risk of interference or further violence if released. Phones can slip through the cracks, allies can act as stand-ins, and fear can be sown from a distance. A boss may be down, but he is not truly out until every channel that empowered him is severed. In the saga of Kat MATLALA, danger persisted through the very institutions meant to contain it. For authorities, the lesson is clear. Capturing the kingpin is not enough. They must also dismantle the unseen infrastructure that allowed his network to run. Only by cutting every channel of communication and corruption can the long shadow of a crime boss be truly broken, even from behind bars. If this chapter is making you realize how power can operate even from a cell, like this video and subscribe, because the real fight isn't arresting the kingpin, it's cutting the channels that keep him alive on the streets. And answer this in the comments. If intimidation continues after he's jailed, is prison even punishment, or just a new headquarters?